What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Renegade Animation on the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast Network. My name is Mike. I'll be your host for this evening. Joining me, as always, is my co-captain, Cameron.
Howdy, howdy.
And we got a fun show for you tonight. We've got some reviews for a couple new series. We've got Marvel's M.O.D.O.K streaming on Hulu. We've got the Netflix anime miniseries Eden, and I know it's been a while, but we're finally getting around to Amphibia Season 2, which is now streaming on Disney+. And we'll end things off with the next stop in our Ghibli journey, Castle in the Sky. But first, we got some trailers to run through. So, Cameron, what do you got?
Well, first off, last time since Renegade Animation, a few trailers popped up. And the first one was for the Shout Factory film Dream Builders. And this is the one that they submitted to the Oscars, but then, of course, there was going to be no way it had any chance.
Not a single chance.
Because nobody knew about it. And now it's like, oh, now it's going to be released in August. And it's like, you should have just waited until this year then. I don't know. It looks fine. I think it almost at points wants to come off like a stop motion, like visual look, but it doesn't go all the way. It doesn't go like the way of the Willoughbys or some of those holiday specials you see for like SpongeBob and whatnot. And it's a shame. I kind of like the premise of this dream world and like the constructions of dreams and such.
Yeah, I think the main problem with this trailer is that it's giving me Wonder Park vibes, and that's not a good thing.
No, it looks very much.
Both movies do have a great core premise. The problem, well, with Wonder Park, because the jury's still out with this one, the problem lies in the execution. And I'm hoping for the best with this, but I'm expecting the worst.
We'll see. I'm sure it's probably going to be in the lower tier of the mediocre, probably like the best of the mediocre, or maybe at the bottom of the middle of the road tier of animated films. We haven't really hit one from a mainstream distributor where it's like, man, that was just the worst. Maybe that'll happen when we finally talk about Spirit Untamed. We're not going to cover it until it hits on demand because I'm just not justifying myself going through a pandemic still to see Spirit Untamed. So, then we also had the Paw Patrol, the movie, its official trailer. And I will say, I give them credit for giving it a simultaneous theatrical and Paramount Plus release, because I just do not think this film is going to do well in theaters. I know this is a very popular brand, but with Spirit Untamed, from what I can tell, not doing well, I don't have the most faith with this one. And the celebrity casting, even though it sounded like a lot of celebrities are in bit parts, sounded so wooden.
I agree with a lot of that. I will say, like, there's like a couple lines that did kind of make me laugh in the trailer. Like the very first one where one of the puppies is coming to rescue, I guess, a truck driver. It's like,
yeah,
it's like, a dog? Actually, sir, I'm a puppy. That's even worse. That like little stuff like that did did make me laugh, but I just can't see this movie being for anyone other than the core audience.
I think my niece is going to be very excited for it because she's a huge Paw Patrol fan. But I can't justify seeing this in a theater. And I know everyone's like, every film no matter how big budgeted or big or small scale, deserves to be in a theater. I'm sorry, this one doesn't. I can't really see why it does.
Especially post-pandemic.
Post-pandemic, and also like it's just the same with Spirit Untamed. Like these tie-ins for children's shows never seem to pan out. Even like Teen Titans Go to the Movies bombed. Even My Little Pony, the movie, which should have had like the best case scenario for a fan base of kids and adults, due to kids and adults being fans of it, bombed. I just, I don't have the most faith for in it. Now, we also had a new trailer for The Boss Baby, Family Business. And unfortunately, outside of a new release date to coincide with its July release on Peacock and theaters, it's pretty much the same trailer from like the first official trailer that we saw.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still a damn good trailer. But the only reason why it had to be released was to tell the general audience, hey, by the way, this is in theaters and on our new streaming service, so go watch it.
Yeah, maybe I'll watch it in theaters if it's playing at my Alamo Draft House. But if it's not, I'll just pay for a free trial of Peacock and watch it at home. So, but it still looks cute. It looks funny. DreamWorks is usually pretty good with their sequels. Shrek the Third is an exception to the rule, but we'll have to see. But then we had a trio of incredible trailers.
Oh yes.
First up, with the Owl House Season 2 trailer. It looked great.
I don't know when this podcast is going to be recording. So I am absolutely not going to give any spoilers, but let's just say I have seen the first 2 episodes of season 2. And watching this trailer again has made me really excited for some things.
It looks darker and a little more ambitious with its storytelling, which I love. And since we know it's going to have 3 full seasons, well, the third season being a bunch of specials, but still, it sounds like it's going to be more story oriented this time, which I'm down for. I mean, like I loved the antics of the episodes that weren't story heavy, but I just like the story and I like the characters in the world that they are in. Like if Kippo and the Age of Wonder Beasts didn't complete its entire run within 2020, I think Owl House probably would have been my favorite new show of 2020.
Yeah, those two are pretty much tied for me. And one thing I will say, there's a new character who is without a doubt going to be the fan favorite.
Which one?
He's his name is the Golden Guard. He's the he's the guy with the owl mask. And Dana Terrace has said in interviews that this is her favorite character, and I can totally see why.
Yeah, and I remember I remember reading about the details of this, and what's the character's name?
The Golden Guard.
Yeah, sorry, Golden Guard. I just want to make sure I said it right, because I was going to say the Golden Bodyguard, and it's like, no, that's not it. It's going to be voiced by Zeno Robinson, and I love that voice actor. He's just fantastic. He's in Big City Greens, and he's also one of the Akudama from Akudama Drive.
Oh, nice.
He's the brawler, the one who really just wanted to punch out everyone. So,
nice.
Yeah.
So they
Uh,
they really cast this character well.
yeah. No, Zeno's a great voice actor. So, um, and then we finally got a full look into the new film by the Archer Studio and being produced by Lord and Miller, America the Motion Picture. So here's what the description says. For like thousands of years, the origins of the United States of America have remained shrouded in mystery, lost to the sands of time, lost to the sands of time. Who built this country, 'tis of thee, and why? Only the dinosaurs know. Until now. Okay. For the first time in human history, the incredible, completely true story of America's origins are revealed in America the Motion Picture, a once in a lifetime cultural event available the only way the founding fathers ever intended their story to be told on Netflix, on your phone, June 30th. Starring America's sweethearts Channing Tatum, Jason Mantzoukas, Olivia Munn, Judy Greer, Bobby Moynihan, Raul Max Trujillo, Killer Mike, Andy Samberg, Will Forte, and Simon Pegg.
Man, that is like probably one of the best ensemble casts you could have assembled for basically America. Fuck yeah, the movie.
Yeah, no, granted, I understand a lot of the pushback for this film because they're just like, oh no, what are the politics for this film going to like what are its messages going to say? And I get that. I understand that because we've seen political comedies and political dramas and thrillers and just themes in films that may backfire. Let's just say that. And I understand being worried about where this one's going, especially when you see stuff like the "Don't Tread on Me, Bro" firework explosion. But this is also being produced by Lord and Miller and being made by the studio and the team that made Archer. By the way, the studio needs to unionize the workers and let them get unionized. So I'm not going to let that go. I'm still really sour about that news story. But I don't think this is meant to be taken super seriously.
The fact that like the fact that they have like a very anachronistic look at America, like one of the one of my favorite lines from the trailer was like one of the British soldiers once like George Washington and his crew comes barging in.
Ding dong, it's America. Oh yeah, did you come up with that line in the car while on your way here on the car? What the F is a car? Oh my god.
That line killed me.
I think that was Andy Samberg as that guy. I forgot what his character's name
is. He's Benedict Arnold.
I mean, granted, it's really obvious to tell who's who, especially since Jason Mantzoukas is just in everything now, so it's really easy to spot him. And Olivia Munn. Well, go ahead.
Another predictable casting choice. Guess who Will Forte is playing?
Let me guess. He's going to play Andrew Johnson.
Close. He's Abe Lincoln.
Oh, a big shock. And no, it looks fun. It looks absurd. Like if you're going to tell the story of the founding of the United States through the lens of the most schloched-faced drunk history reporter, you might as well go all the way with the absurdity of it all, especially when you see like a horse like tilting sideways to glide under a car, like a train car. And then you see Paul Bunyan fighting Big Ben at like the clock as a mecha. Or like Paul Revere as a RoboCop centaur.
And Killer Mike as like a RoboCop blacksmith.
Yeah. And like I think it's super absurd. Like it's like I don't know. I'm hoping it goes the route of it doesn't explain anything. It doesn't try to make sense of this absurd world and way of talking about history. And just don't take it too seriously. That's what I hope. And in terms of animation, this looks pretty good. It looks wildly different from the stuff like Archer. Like it has a little more. It has a different art style. It has a little more like nuance to it and such.
The characters aren't as like stiff. Like this is way more stylized than the studio's previous works, which is
Yeah.
what I really like about it.
Yeah, no, and for some reason they have a helicopter like thing that you see, but um no, we'll have to see. I'm trying to get a screener for it right now, so I can't wait to watch this film, and I hope it doesn't disappoint. I will be perfectly okay with this being a style over substance experience if it, complements one another. So
All it needs to do is make me laugh, and if it does that, it'll get the comfortable recommendation.
yeah. No, we'll just have to see. And then, as like this week was coming to an end, Studio Chizu released a trailer, like its official trailer for Belle, and we also got a subtitle trailer for it. So that means either Studio Chizu knows its audience is from all around the world, but we'll have to see because I would love for G Kids to pick this film up. It looked great. I love the like the whole identity crisis between the girl, or like our lead character, and her you persona as Belle, and I'm really like I love this Beauty and the Beast connection that they're doing with like the online world and like the connection with Belle and this dragon character.
Oh yeah. Um, this kind of reminds me of like a lot of other anime films that take loose inspiration from fairy tales but puts their own spin on it. Like for example, I think one of the best examples is like Ponyo is like Miyazaki's like loose spin on the Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
So this kind of falls like falls into that territory. And just we've talked about before how this one compared to a lot of Hosoda's other films is really an international production. Like you got alumni from Cartoon Saloon, Disney, just people all over the world coming together to make this.
It just looks fantastic, and it's still my most anticipated film for the rest of the year. And I know like Luca is coming out soon, and I'm looking forward to that. But really, it's just like I want all of these Japanese animated films that are coming out to get a US release. I don't know. I don't care if it's G Kids or some other studios. I want them here. I want to watch them.
Same.
I mean, I loved Lupin the First and Ongaku Our Sound, but I want some variation and whatnot. But we'll have to see how, like, when this film comes out, because it comes out a month from now in July. And I'm sure G Kids has their hand on the pulse of just waiting for them to sign the deal, and then we will make the announcement. But overall, those are all the trailers that we have to watch.
One more thing I want to bring up before we get into our main topics. So Warner Brothers put out this cute little 6-minute video, like kind of a parody of ESPN's 30 for 30. Obviously, this is promoting Space Jam: A New Legacy, and it's like a mockumentary about the Toon Squad called The Bunny and the Goat. I'll admit because I'm not really keeping up with like this season of the NBA. a lot of the basketball references kind of went over my head, but this is kind of like our first, first little look at the Space Jam movie, and we get to see a little bit of the characters, like Bugs, Daffy, Lola.
We see like Gossamer and Foghorn, Leghorn, and I'm still so mixed about this movie. I don't want to rail against it because I know a lot of people like the original movie for some reason I will never understand. But I'm more bugged by the fact that they keep switching between the 2D animation and then showing us the CGI models of the characters, because one, the 2D stuff, like clips that they show that are of like the characters on the chairs and such, it doesn't look the greatest, but they look better than the CG models that we keep seeing in the like like in the actual movie.
It makes me wonder like how much of the film takes place on the digital basketball court and how much takes place in Toon World.
And I'm sorry, the granny jokes are not all that funny, or at least I didn't find them all that funny. And it just seems I'm having the same problem that I think Chuck Jones had when he saw the Space Jam dialogue, and he's like, what the heck is this? Granny wouldn't say this. I don't know. It's like I don't want to come down too hard, because I was kind of like that earlier today with people being like, man, the original movie is great. How dare they ruin the legacy? And it's like the legacy of a film that was inspired by sports shoes ads. Like, the movie was greenlit because of shoe ads that were popular. You really want to die on that hill? I'm just,
At least to the sequel's credit, it's not built on quite the same foundation. Like sure, you can make all the arguments, and all of the arguments have already been made about how cynical the 1996 film was constructed, but at least like that film has its fans. It has people who have like grown up with it over the past 25 years, and plus they're just great filmmakers too. Like I know Ryan Coogler is a producer, but like he's been sort of like, he's been a more hands-on producer than, someone like Steven Spielberg, who just slaps his name on everything.
Yeah. No, I understand. Like, there's a lot of good talent, so it'll probably be a better made film. And of course, like we've said before, LeBron James is a way better actor than Michael Jordan.
Oh, easily.
The one thing Michael Jordan couldn't conquer, the world of Hollywood. Oh, no offense to him. To the greatest basketball player of all time. But it's like, I don't know. I'm just so mixed on this film, and I hope it's good. I hope I enjoy it, but to say that I'm looking forward to it is, well, kind of a lie. But I will say we did get to see Zendaya as Lola for the first, like hearing her voice the character for the first time. And she sounds fine. I mean, I don't consider this like her, like this is what she's going to sound like in the movie, because this is obviously like a fake parody marketing thing,
Right. So people like already casting judgment on Zendaya's Lola based off this. I think that's a little unfair.
It's very unfair.
But I will say this. Personally, the only reason I don't like this casting is because it's kind of that perfect example of casting casting a celebrity versus casting an actor. And by no means I am not trying to disrespect Zendaya. I think she is a very talented actress, but her name is bigger than either Kristen Wiig, who still is my favorite version of Lola from the Looney Tunes show, or Katsusei, who was the original voice and has voiced the character in other Looney Tunes projects.
Yeah, no, I understand they want to keep with the continuity of Space Jam, even though the Looney Tunes show has my favorite version. Well, I think everyone's favorite version of Lola, even though Lola was actually not a bad character in the original Space Jam. She was the most competent person in the room outside of Michael Jordan. Which is, kudos, because I know the unfortunate legacy Lola has left behind.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see how that movie is. But for now, I think it's time we move to M.O.D.O.K.
Yes. So this is the first and unfortunately only Marvel adult animated series coming to Hulu. This was originally supposed to be part of an extended universe with the Offenders, Howard the Duck, Tigra and Dazzler. But unfortunately, the big people like the executives at Marvel were like, nah, we like this M.O.D.O.K because Patton Oswalt's great, but we're not going to do the rest.
I would like to see any details of those canceled shows, and who knows, maybe they just weren't coming together as the teams wanted, or it was just Disney, AK, and Marvel were just being like, let's greenlight a bunch of projects and then see how it's all coming. And then M.O.D.O.K was the only one that was making progress. But who knows? We will literally never know unless the creators of these other shows come out and be like, hey, here's what happened. But Mike, what did you think of M.O.D.O.K? Just an overall thoughts before we dive into it.
I liked it, but if I'm going to be honest, I really only liked it because Patton Oswalt was pretty much the main driving force behind this. Not that he was like a writer or director. Well, he did write the pilot and one of the other episodes. But it's his comedic sensibilities that have really carried this through. For those who don't know, M.O.D.O.K is he's the giant. He's like the giant head Marvel villain, the leader of AIM, who does science for science's sake. But the thing about this show is that it's kind of like an office comedy sitcom with a little bit of Rick and Morty ish elements and dysfunctional family. It's not what you would expect from, say, Kevin Feige and company.
Yeah, no, so basically it's like M.O.D.O.K fails once again to take over New York and is taken down by Iron Man, and then finds out that AIM is basically going bankrupt and is then getting bought out by a company called Grumble, which is a great name for a fictional, Google-like company. And then it's just like, as he tries to buy back his own company, he ends up getting a divorce from his wife, Jody, voiced by Amy Garcia. And then it becomes more of like a journey for MODOK to become a better person and maybe a more competent villain, even though MODOK has been like the punching bag villain of the Marvel like media franchise. Because I don't think I've ever seen an episode or a cartoon, like a direct to video film, where MODOK was ever taken seriously.
I mean, first of all, just look at his design. There's no way you can take him seriously.
I mean, he's like the calendar man of the Marvel universe, just in that sense of like, really, this guy's a villain. And I mean that's kind of the point, because he is so ridiculous as a villain, and sometimes he's given a leg up. Okay, I walked into that one. And but he's usually like, he almost gets to the top and then falls and fails hard. And he's also super self-conscious about his look, and he's an egomaniac. I overall liked the show, even though it had a lot of the familiar elements of the Stupid Buddy Studios brand of adult comedy.
Oh yeah.
But I also feel like Patton Oswalt and his team were the real, like, heart and soul of the project. They didn't just get Patton Oswalt to voice the character. It's like, let's give MODOK a personal pseudo redemption story, and I like that. I think it's like there was a lot of charm to it, and just how he was with his two kids, Lou and Melissa, who are played by Ben Schwartz and Melissa Fumero, and it's really funny. Like it does it like yeah, it has a few of those like edgy shock and gore and violent jokes, but it still has a lot of clever writing and like fun little story beats. And I think that makes up for it. It's not just like crossing swords where all the characters suck, and it only has hyper violence to make up for the fact that it's not really all that funny.
No, at least I can say the voice cast does kind of help. They help with the delivery of a lot of these jokes. Like one of my favorite characters that I wasn't expecting to like was Beck Bennett as Austin Vandersleet, who is like the young hipster boss from Grumble. Like I just love how he is like all the cliches of like that, you know, like that hipster from Silicon Valley.
Yeah, like the young tech startups and like the Mark Zuckerbergs and what have you.
Yeah, but towards the end of the show, he does redeem himself, and even I guess tries to help in some way, help MODOK get his company back and save the world from the what was it called, like the living corporation.
Yeah, the like the CEOs. I mean, like I think one of my favorite characters, and one that I thought was going to get kind of annoying. Well, there are a few characters who I thought were going to get annoying. There's like the Super Adaptoid, voiced by Jonathan C. Daly, who almost gets annoying to the point, but he's constantly like the punching bag of the show. But it's also like, this show is filled to the brim with super obscure Marvel references and such. Like, they gave Patton Oswalt and his team the key to the archives and to use any characters that they want.
Yeah, like they have characters like Mandrill, Madame Mask, Scorpion,
Wonder
Carmilla,
Man.
yeah,
Angar the Screamer, Fing Fang Foom, Pound Cakes, and it's like it's a lot. Like they really dig into it, and I give them a lot of respect for that. And I thought MODOK's dynamic, his chemistry was good with like Monica Rapacini, who's voiced by Wendy McClendon Covey. And the little preview clip that we saw from Comic-Con, it's still very funny when she has the mutation thing. And M.O.D.O.K is like still kind of freaking out. It's like, oh no, it just peed out of what I thought was its mouth. And then she's like, everything's fine. And then she just whacks him with it, even though that's probably not good for the creature. But I do like that it's not just constant mean-spirited jokes or cynicism, or like it's not just like look how pathetic M.O.D.O.K is throughout the entire show. He gets better, and I like that. And our friend Jesse, pinpointed a observation that I thought was pretty clever about Jodie's arc, M.O.D.O.K's wife / ex-wife, voiced by Amy Garcia. And how like her rise to being a social media influencer turns her into her own respective villain.
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good point. Also, I don't think anyone's really pointed this out, but Melissa is an openly bisexual character.
That's interesting. I don't think I noticed that the first time around. And
yeah, it doesn't. It's not like it's not really brought up
explicit, yeah,
in the show, but that's just a cool thing.
Yeah,
that we can have characters like that in a in a Marvel animated series, and it's just totally normal.
Yeah, and Disney didn't try to pull it's like Marvel's gonna have their first gay character, and it's just like, oh, who is it? Oh, that background character in like way off in the distance. That's the one. And it's like we'll talk about that some other time, how Disney keeps doing that. But I also really liked Gary, the one-armed henchman, voiced by Sam Richardson.
Oh, Gary's the best.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought the coffee was for everyone. Gary, my henchman who abruptly walked in front of my laser blast. Oh, I felt so bad for him when he's just like, when M.O.D.O.K is trying to take care of that mutant thing, and he's like, Gary, hand me your arm. He's like, are you going to put it back on me? Because I was thinking. Then he puts a bomb on it and tosses at the monster, and Gary's just like, oh no.
I don't know why, but like every like show, like every show with a with like a business has like that one loyal employee named Gary. Like in Legend of Tomorrow, one of the fan favorite characters, his name is Gary, and he was introduced as like as a member of the Time Bureau, and he's like these two characters are very similar in personality.
That sounds about right. And I also liked John Hamm as Iron Man, even though he doesn't appear a whole lot. But I think John Hamm captures that snarky Tony Stark mannerisms. And I love that, like, the first time he's fighting with M.O.D.O.K, he's savoring the Great British Bake Off as he fights M.O.D.O.K. And then M.O.D.O.K spoils that episode. Because first of all, that's realistic. I binged the whole Great British Baking Show on Netflix, and you have to be careful. You could binge that whole season if you give yourself the permission to do so. But like I said, the show also has a lot of heart. Like that whole like episode where M.O.D.O.K teams up with a bunch of lesser known villains. Like we said, Agnar the Screamer, who's voiced by Bill Hader. Then you got like Pound Cakes, voiced by Whoopi Goldberg. And it's just like nice to see that like this wasn't just going to be joke on joke on joke with a mean spirit streak, because I think people are getting slowly tired of it, of that kind of style of humor, because that's really what has killed Family Guy. And Family Guy is just kind of a corpse by now, like a walking corpse by now of just mean spirited terribleness. Like,
A show is on its last legs when, and even its creator wants it to die.
yeah, so it's nice to see, like, even though M.O.D.O.K is pretty pathetic for the first like third of the show's run, he finally just kind of realizes that he needs to better himself and to be better to his kids, even though like Lou and Melissa have their annoying aspects. They're still his kids. And then like his family also has like that sided selfishness that helps balance out everything. And it, I mean, like, what, like, do you have any other elements that you like about the show?
Um, just expanding a little bit on the family aspect. I think a really nice moment towards the end between M.O.D.O.K and Lou is at his bar mitzvah, where all Lou really wanted was to spend time with his hero. And that episode is just filled with a lot of like heartfelt moments like that.
Yeah. And but what did you think about the ending?
Like the ending?
Yeah, like the one for season 1 where it's like M.O.D.O.K, well, spoiler alert, M.O.D.O.K fights a past version of himself that time travels because of one of M.O.D.O.K's schemes to try to get back together with his wife. And it leads on a very dour note. Like M.O.D.O.K chose his metropolis of him ruling everything over his family that we think for now got killed. And I'm curious to see where they go with that, because that's kind of a dark ending and it's not like a super happy ending. Like, even Crossing Swords, as mean and terrible as it was,
Still gets a happy ending.
Still gets a pretty happy ending.
Yeah, this one is very very bittersweet. And are is it confirmed that we're getting a second season?
The co-creator Jordan Blum has talked about how there are plans with making a season 2, but nothing is official. I thought it was officially confirmed that there was a second season back when like the Animaniacs got renewed for a third season. But so far that is not the case.
I'm looking on Wikipedia here, and it says in April of 2021, Blum revealed that a second season is planned.
Yeah, they're planning it out, but I don't think that means that it's like confirmed. Like, they're just seeing like I don't know. Like I said, there hasn't been really any real confirmed elements of it.
We'll probably just have to wait till, like, I don't know, Comic-Con or something to really find out more.
Because it was a very popular show. It was one of the most, if not the most watched show of its release week, and
which is impressive because a lot of things came out that weekend.
Yeah, it was like there was M.O.D.O.K, there was Eden, and a few other things. I forgot what, but still. I think my only real criticism of the show is that while Patton Oswalt and Jordan Blum bring a very like interesting heart and soul to the show, and while it is still very funny at points, it still feels a little too familiar to the Stupid Buddy brand of humor. And it does, like, it's smart enough to have like way better jokes and commentary to make up for these little familiar beats, but it's still noticeable enough. It's still like very violence and gore heavy. Like even though it's probably my favorite joke from the first episode in the daycare center where they release the bird, and the bird goes like they think that they took down the electric fence. The bird explodes off of it, and the henchman who's voiced by John DiMaggio is like, "Did he leave?" And then later on, when you see M.O.D.O.K with the rabbit, and he tosses it, and you hear in the background it goes against the electric fence again, and you hear the kid scream, and the agent's just like, "Oh, not again!" And then I also like the CPA Supreme, the one who does the taxes and the financial elements of the AIM company. And he's just like, the one way he saves himself a death from M.O.D.O.K was like, "Well, sir, I still have to do your personal taxes." Which unfortunately leads to Gary getting his arm blown off by accident, but still. But do you have any criticisms for the show?
I mean, outside of like the usual stupid buddy, crass humor, like that's really those are really all the criticisms I have. So what I'll tell people, if people ask me whether or not I recommend this, I honestly think your mileage may vary. If you're such a big fan of this character that you'll consume anything and everything, then yes, go watch M.O.D.O.K because it is funny. Patton Oswalt is great, and you will find a lot of heart. But if you are dead set on like not supporting anything from Stupid Buddies, then you're probably not going to miss too much.
No, I like I said, I hope it expands a little more on like Patton's sense of humor. Like I think bring him on like fully on board more and such, because I love Patton Oswalt, and I think the parts that I liked were mostly because of him and probably what he brought on board with the show for the show. Because if you took it out or it took him out, you'd probably just have another Stupid Buddy Productions. You just have another Crossing Swords.
For example, imagine if they didn't cast Patton Oswalt as a character, M.O.D.O.K would probably be voiced by like Tony Hale, and he would mostly be the same character, but he'd feel a lot more mean spirited.
Yeah, no, that's very true. No, but overall, I enjoyed it. It's not my favorite cartoon of the year. I still think that goes to Kid Cosmic and City of Ghosts, which I thought were just funnier shows overall. But they're also entirely different shows compared to M.O.D.O.K. So it's not super fair. Are you ready to move on?
Yeah. This next one, I was surprised how much I ended up really loving it. It's called Eden, and it's an original CGI animated anime series produced by CG Studio Inc. and Cubic Pictures, directed by Yashiro Iri, and written by Kimiko Ueno, created by Justin Leach. It's a story set thousands of years in the future, where a gleaming monolithic city known as Eden is inhabited solely by artificially intelligent robots whose former masters vanished long ago, although they continue to grow agricultural produce. On a routine assignment on the surrounding farmland, two maintenance robots accidentally awaken a human baby girl from stasis, questioning their belief that humans were a forbidden ancient myth. Together, the two robots secretly raise the child in a safe haven outside Eden. And these robots are voiced by David Tennant and Rosario Dawson. And the girl, Sarah, is voiced by Ruby Rose Turner. Cameron, I'll start with you. Your sort of general impressions.
Well, I've been looking forward to this show for what seems like a few years now.
2 years.
Yeah, like this was announced a while back. Yeah, back in 2019. And I loved the promotional image that they showed with the robots. I thought they had a very cool, distinct look. And then it was just kind of waiting to finally hear something about this anime because it was taking a while. And then like a few weeks ago, they were like, "Oh yeah, we got Ruby Rose Turner, Rosario Dawson, David Tennant, and the villain is played by Neil Patrick Harris." And it looked good because I know there's a stigma with anime and CGI because for every Doro Hidoro and Land Illustrious and B stars, there's an X arm. There's a Cestus, and this is one of the best cases and examples of CGI used in anime. Like everyone is.
And I think a reason why that is the case is because, barring a few exceptions, most of the characters in this show are robots. And when robots are the focus, that's usually when you can get away with the limitations of animation. Like I think one of the reasons why like in the 60s and 70s we got so many mech anime is because those were sort of like the easiest to design. And that's starting to become that's kind of the case now with like with the way that Japan utilizes CG animation. They're still not great at it. But the way it looks here is just incredible.
I think it helps to have people like who are trained in CGI animation because I mean that was the whole thing with X-Arm because it was being made by a studio that didn't know how to animate and they didn't know how to animate like in an anime style. So because it was a studio that did just environmental setting up and art for video games. So the production committee that made X-Arm had no idea what they were doing. And it just like all the characters have weight to them. The mouths move pretty well, the characters who have mouths.
Right.
And it's a very like Ghibli approach to a sci-fi story. Like if Ghibli made a more sci-fi approached story.
It did kind of feel Ghibli-esque.
Because it has like it's a very complex and very tightly made 4 episodes. And on one hand, it may have could have used 2 more episodes just to live in the world a little more and or expand on a few things. But it gets the job done within 4 episodes because it's a real emotional roller coaster of like optimism, danger. Like there are themes about humanity, morality, and like family, and just kind of like what are you willing to do to make the perfect world? And it balances all of that very well because they could have
really
easily
does.
They could have easily like if this was like done by a lesser team, it could have easily been like no pacing. Like they're just trying to get to each story beat like as fast as they can. But even for like every episode being 30 minutes, it's paced pretty well. And I love how a lot of it's pretty quiet. I bet if they could or wanted to, they could do this entirely dialogue-less. Like take a Triplets of Belleville approach or like a silent film approach.
That would have been kind of neat, because one thing that's kind of cool is that these robots, these robots can speak English, or they speak human, but they can only do it after interacting with a human. So if there were no humans at all in the series, then all the robots would just like be speaking, beep boop beep or whatever sort of gibberish they were saying.
Yeah, and there was a lot of personality within the robots. I mean, outside of the extreme obviousness of like the villain who looked like he was right out of a sci-fi, like an 80s sci-fi anime. With like Zero and such. Like they still all have pretty distinct personalities, and I like that they just do little details. Like one of the robots has a hat, and like even though they're robots, they still give them plenty of emotion and weight behind their thoughts and such. Like I was thinking, like at first, like when I heard the voice cast, I was like, really? Did you need David Tennant and Rosario Dawson or Neil Patrick Harris? Even though I love them as actors. I do have something to bring up there, but we'll get there in a second. I still fell in love with them as characters. They were still very distinct, and if you didn't know that these were like David Tennant, Rosario Dawson, and Neil Patrick Harris, you wouldn't know.
There's a little bit of that of like that Scottish accent that comes out of Tennant as Sarah grows older and he's being like the stern father figure. But like before that, like when you first meet him, it is hard to tell.
And I forgot how much I love Neil Patrick Harris as an actor, because I feel like I don't see him enough in acting roles, and I just want to divorce him from his How I Met Your Mother character and such, because I'm sure that's how a lot of people know him, or as his child star role in Doogie Howser. But I thought he did a good job, and it's not like he hasn't done voiceover roles before. Luckily, a lot of the celebrities that they chose were able to have done voiceover work before. Like Rosario Dawson was Wonder Woman, and like for the last few direct-to-video DC films, and was also Barbara Gordon in the Lego Batman movie.
Yep. And David Tennant has been, he's been in a lot of animated things, but I think his most iconic role is Scrooge McDuck on DuckTales.
Yeah, no, he's been in stuff like he's Angus and Ferdinand, and like he was also Charles Darwin in The Pirates, the Band of Misfits.
And he was Snotlout's father in How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. And then of course, like Neil Patrick Harris, he's Steve from the Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs films, and he was also like Spider-Man in Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. He was Nightwing in Batman Under the Red Hood. He was Prince Gumball from Adventure Time. And of course, my favorite role of his, he was the Music Meister in Batman Brave and the Bold.
Yes.
And he was also Flash in Justice League The New Frontier. So it's like, at least they did that, because sometimes it's like there's always that discussion and argument about why celebrities get to be in anime, and while voice actors still have to stick within their range. For some reason, but like if you're going to get celebrities, at least make sure that they act, like they know how to voice act and such. But I want to talk about Zero for a second. What did you think about Zero as a villain?
At first I thought he was a little bit on the generic side, since they're they were definitely leaning into this sort of like the sort of like human versus robot like sort of prejudice.
Mhm.
But then once the twist is revealed of who Zero is, that is when I became much more invested and actually started feeling sympathy for the character and what he was trying to accomplish.
Yeah, no, he was a very interesting villain, even though like he's a familiar villain. Like the whole like humans are terrible, there's no point to them. It's basically like a darker version of uh the PAL app from the Mitchells versus the Machines.
Accurate.
Yeah. And I just thought Neil Patrick Harris did a great job. But with all that said, my criticism is, well, it's a question. Due to the fact that they distort the voices for these characters, and even if they're putting in good performances and such, did we really need the celebrities? Because if you aren't paying attention outside of like, oh, that's obviously David Tennant as E92, couldn't they have just gotten normal voice actors?
Honestly, it's a valid question, and since this is a Netflix series, they already have sort of a roster of like a roster of like series regulars, like Keith Ferguson. I'm trying to think of other names.
Yeah, I know what you mean now.
Like just look up the casts for, say, the Netflix dub of Neon Genesis Evangelion or Dorohedoro or Great Pretender. Like you have a nice stable of professional voice actors. So like on the one hand, because these are robots and you're like distorting their voices almost to the point of like unrecognizability, you technically don't need like to cast celebrities. However, these specific actors did do a good job of bringing these characters to life. Plus, they're they're veterans to voice acting, so for that I give them a pass.
Yeah, no, that's how I kind of feel. Like I kind of flip flop while watching this, and also crying because of how emotional this show can get. And it was just like, oh man, that was a good episode. Did we really need them? um, but they did do a good job, I thought. And yeah, no, I think in the end it was good to have them, but I maybe could have just seen them using just normal anime voice actors. Like I said, it's that whole debate of like why can't voice actors for like TV and anime get the same gigs as like celebrities getting into like feature films and such? Because unless you're like Disney or Pixar or at some points Sony Pictures, a lot of the celebrity casting is pointless. Like all those celebrities castings for Spirit Untamed was not going to change that Spirit Untamed sounds like a terrible movie.
Yeah, unfortunately, that like something like that's inevitable.
Yeah, but in general, I really loved Eden. Like it's a perfect 4 episode series, and shout out to Ruby Rose Turner. This is her first voice acting gig, and she's, from what I could find, a Disney Channel kid. Um, so this is it's just impressive to me.
Uh, yeah, Ruby Rose Turner was great. I'm it's cool that that like these sort of projects where you have a, I guess like either teenager or young adult as the lead. It's always cool when stories like that give fresh blood an opportunity to, you know, to shine.
Yeah, no, like I wouldn't mind seeing her in a few other future projects. Like I thought she brought a lot of soul to Sarah Grace, and I also like John Paul Karliak, who played Uncle John or S566, the one with the cowboy hat.
Yeah,
And
he was fun.
and I also liked Cassandra Lee Morris, who was Zurich, and Elizabeth Fields, the daughter of Dr. Weston Fields. And then Julie Nathanson as Geneva was great. But yeah, no, I highly recommend watching this series.
Yeah,
Just
this um as of this recording, I would say this is probably like somewhere in my top 5 of the new animated series.
that's I'd put it in my top 10. It like if we're counting anime, it's probably in my top 10. But in just terms of cartoons in general, yeah, I'd still think it'd be in my top 10. But now we must get on to one of the biggest shows of 2020 and 2021, Amphibia season 2. And my goodness, was this a great season. Like in general, like just to give an overall thought about it, while I loved season 1, I wasn't in love with it until the end when it was all starting to click and mesh together. And then season 2 when began like building upon its world, its characters, its lore, and the second half of the second season is really when I think the show absolutely shines.
Oh
It
yeah.
turned like a show that in 2019 got beat out by Infinity Train for being as the best cartoon of 2019 to like if this season was just its own like first season or whatever, it'd probably be at number 1 right now.
That's high praise, and I don't really disagree with any of that. Season 1 is really good. It's, you know, season 1, I think the reason why I don't love it as much as I definitely love season 2 is because, you know, it's the start of Anne's adventure. But the problem is, um, it's all set in Wartwood, so the stories can only go like you can only take things so far from a narrative perspective until, of course, we get to the end of the season when Anne and Sasha face off for the first time. But season 2 is, yeah, I'll say it. Season 2 is one of the best single seasons of a Disney animated series in a while. Like it's this, the Owl House season 1, and pretty much all of DuckTales that are like in the upper echelon.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, like I said, I think what helps is that you would get to explore the world a lot more. Like they run into like that cozy inn that's actually run by cannibals, or they go to that crossover with Gravity Falls, which is still probably one of my favorite episodes of the second season.
Same.
And
Even Kermit the Frog gets a little cute cameo in the first half of that episode.
oh, that's so surreal to hear Kermit the Frog, but it's not Kermit the Frog. It's like how in Big City Greens, I forgot what the character was. I think he was a dentist. He's voiced by Fozzie Bear. So it's like,
Oh, that's fun.
oh, that's surreal to see. It's really weird. But they still like it, but they do dive into the characters more with the second season, and think makes it such a strong show. Like you're able to dive into the relationships between Anne and Sprig and Hop Hop and Polly, and then Anne and her connections with like Sasha, and then when she finally gets to meet Marcy, or reunites with Marcy, and the questionable King Andreas, voiced by the ever amazing Keith David. Um, and it's like, but the show was also able to give itself time to like flesh out Sasha, who's voiced by Anna Akana. And I loved her story arc of like trying to get prepared for the raid on Newtopia. Is that what the kingdom's called?
Utopia.
Just making sure. And how that like she was so hell-bent on like getting this plan done that she was sacrificing her friends or the people who she considered friends, like threw them under the bus really, and then kind of feels the guilt of that as the show goes on, as she reunites with Anne and Marcy. By the way, Percy is voiced by Matt L. Jones, the one of the Toad friends that she abandons. He's Kyle from DreamWorks' Home.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it took me a hard minute to like get who that was. And of course he's been in other things, like he's in F is for Family. He's also in Sanjay and Craig and Planes, Fire and Rescue, and Beware the Batman. And of course he pops up a few times in Adventure Time. He's even in one of my favorite early episodes. And I really liked the development of Sasha, because they could have easily just made her a vengeful individual for the whole run of the show or of the season, but they don't. She flip-flops back and forward between really wanting to get back together with Marcy and Anne, but also still a little blood hungry.
What this kind of reminds me of is Zuko's arc in season 2 of Avatar, where where she's going through this sort of metamorphosis, and I guess you could kind of consider Grime to be her Uncle Iroh.
Yeah.
By the way, Grime is voiced by Troy Baker. And looking at the guest stars on some of these episodes is just, it's insane. The voice cast all around is just incredible.
Well, yeah, like I still loved Mayor Toadstool, who's voiced by Stephen Root. His lackey Toady, voiced by Jack McBrayer. And then you have, like you said, Troy Baker. You got Katie Crown, Jill Bartlett, Michelle Dockery, Haley Zhu. By the way, Haley Zhu, who voices Marcy, was Alia from Arlo the Alligator Boy, the Tiger Girl.
Yep.
And she's also in Glitch Techs as well.
She's
and of course like the Stumpy the cook is voiced by John DiMaggio. And then we have like in the second season we got quite a few like one of the band Finns, the green-haired bandit, is voiced by April Winchell, who is an old 90s voice actress who you would know from everything. She's Clarabelle Cow, like she's the current voice of that Disney character, and she was also in like a lot of other things, but she was Sylvia from Wander Over Yonder.
Yep.
And she's just, well, let's see. Most people would know her more as what's her character? Well, she's Lydia Pearson from Pepper Ann, and what's her name? Peg Pete from like Goof Troop. Yeah, Peg. Yep. Like it was just great to see her again. And
she voices two characters in this. She's Fens and she's also Braddock.
Yeah. And then we also have like the Baker, who's voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson. And then Susan Blakesley, who voices Valeriana, does a good job. And then we have like Keith Silverstein as Barry, Dietrich Bader as Frog Jordan is great, and of course, during the Gravity Falls crossover, we have Alex Hirsch doing as the curator and Frog Seuss, which again, that was just great. And then we got like Christian Shaw as Bella, the bellhop. And then we have Maurice Lamar as Sal. And then we get to like probably one of the best characters from the best episode. One of the best episodes from season 2. Priscilla, voiced by Misty Lee, and Pearl, voiced by Romy Dames. And she was the one who like was competing against Anne to get that teapot. I think it was a teapot.
Yep. It was a teapot.
And it was one of the most heart-wrenching finale. I think that was like the last episode of the first half of season 2.
It wasn't the last. It was the second to last before the end of the first half of season 1, and then before the second half, we did get Shut In, which is the Halloween special.
Right. And
before we're gonna talk about True Colors, because there's a lot to say in that episode alone. But before we get there, are there any like episodes from the second half that stand out to you?
The second half of the second season?
Yeah.
Let me quickly see. I liked the first temple just because it expands upon Marcy and her flaws as a character. It's like she's confident, but like she needs to like take a step back before she pretty much like gets her friends killed. But I also liked Barrel's Warhammer because that's Sasha's arc. And I liked the dinner and Battle of the Bands.
That was a fun episode.
I just this show, it can be so funny and it's so endearing, even though it's like a pretty weird premise. But I love how like the snappy writing and the character interactions. And then the Battle of the Bands episode was just like full, like a lot of fun with the music and such. And of course, the great punchline of what's the character voiced by Troy Baker?
Grime.
Grime pulls out a harp and wins the whole thing. Even though it's like it was a 3-hour performance, which hey, that sounds fine to me. And I mean, those were my favorite episodes outside of True Colors and such.
Outside of True Colors, some of my favorite episodes were I liked all of the like the temple episodes. The first temple, the second temple, the third temple is when Anne, Marcy, and Sasha are reunited for the first time. So that's a pretty important one for story reasons. But as for character episodes, the one that I got the most enjoyment out of was probably Bessie and Michelangelo, because it reminded me a lot of a lot of those classic Looney Tunes shorts, but also Mindy and Buttons from Animaniacs, and the Roger Rabbit shorts that they did in the early 90s. It had a lot of that flavor in it. And one more thing before we get to True Colors is something that I really like about the structure of this show is like it does that thing where, you know, it divides the episode into like 2 11-minute shorts, but unlike most shows, which when they do that, they're self-contained. This has this is a story a story-driven narrative. So it's like it's like they're really they've really honed in on dividing like the A plot and the B plot. And though like the way they structure the show, it really helps the show keep a very a very quick pace.
At first, I was kind of like, I don't know if this splitting up of the episodes works, because it was just, and I think a lot of that was just because of the first season being like a little too slice of life and small scale for my taste. Not to say I needed like a big grand epic story that moved the plot forward every time, but after a while, when you stay in the same small town in the same like 3 areas, it becomes a little tiring. And but then with the second season, it got way better because they kept moving forward. And sometimes they didn't even need to have the main characters as the focus. And they even make a joke about that, which is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, oh, it's weird when the main characters don't show up for an episode and nobody misses them, which is a great joke, but it's also a good sign of a good show that you can take the main characters out for an episode and people won't miss them.
Oh yeah.
But let's get to the episode that sent the internet ablaze. True Colors. We finally find out everything like that was leading up to this point, to Sasha betraying Anne for what is like the 5th time now. And
her and Loki should exchange notes on how many times they've betrayed their family.
Yeah, pretty much. And then you get into the most like twist. I call it like the twist and turn city episode, because then it's like Sasha instantly regrets putting her friends away and her friends getting captured, and like the Toads taking over, well, attempting to take over the Newtopia. And then you find out that King Andreas, well, spoilers again, but this episode's been out for a week or 2 now, so is a tyrannical monster of an individual. I don't know why that is with Keith David. He's always a king, and the king is always up to something. But anyway. And was basically going to lift Newtopia out of the sky to be like this, pardon our next Ghibli film topic, a castle in the sky.
Yep.
To basically wreak havoc. It was literally a castle in the sky, but with frogs. well, amphibians. And then the twist of like Marcy being pseudo behind the reason why Anne and Sasha and her got warped into another world. When you find out that Marcy's parents were going to getting a new position at, well, the father was getting a new job position, and that meant moving out of town. And Marcy selfishly saying like I don't want to go anywhere without my friends, so I'm going to make sure we all go to this world and such. And even though it's a little, I don't want to say it's the weakest part of the twists, but it was definitely the quickest one that Anne had got over and such.
Yeah, I've been struggling with exactly how I feel about that specific twist. Yeah, it's a very selfish thing that Marcy does, but I think in my mind, I think one of the reasons why Anne is so quick to forgive her is because it was selfish, but it wasn't evil.
Yeah, no, it was like it was definitely like it's a lot more nuanced. Like I didn't mean to bring it up like, oh, this is the weakest part of the episode. It's just interesting. And then King Andreas almost pulls a Game of Thrones and tosses Sprig out of the floating castle, which gives Anne her feeling of loss that turns her into a Super Saiyan. It's not really a Super Saiyan, but come on.
Everyone's calling her Super Anne, so yeah.
And man, the animation was great for that fight sequence. You can tell that's where they put a lot of the resources into it. I mean, the show's overall well animated, but it's here where it's like, man, they put a lot more frames and more weight and time into this sequence. And then when we get to the final part, Anne, Sprig, Hop Pop, and Polly with new legs now, like are go through the portal while Sasha and Grime like fend off the horde, and Marcy apologizes, and then King Andreas stabs her. I was not expecting that.
Yeah,
I was so mad.
When we see the season 3 intro, we do see that she is she is in a
like recovery tank.
Yeah, a recovery tank. So that's smart. They know not to kill a character we just met in full for one season. But still, how dare you?
I know. It's just like, I don't know. Like, I mean, it was just like, oh, that's a terrible way to, well, terrible, aka great way to send us off, as we find out now, like with the season 3 intro. Well, Anne, Sprig, Hop Pop, and Polly are back in her world. But then, of course, with the intro, it's not all rainbows and gumdrops.
Yep, they still have more adventures to embark on. But going back to True Colors, I think what makes this episode stand out as much as it does, aside from the gorgeous animation and the obvious homage to Dragon Ball with Anne's super transformation. Seriously, when I watched this episode for the first time, I pretty much made the joke that Anne is one of the first one of the first female characters to become a Super Saiyan.
Yeah, no.
But what I think what makes this episode stand out is pretty much the same reason that the Gravity Falls episode, Not What He Seems, stands out. These are like the huge turning points for the narrative. And it's completely understandable why so many of the people behind this episode got upset when it got delayed, probably
like last second.
Yeah, it got delayed at the last second, probably because there's a rumor going around that Disney was trying to censor the episode. And obviously Matt and company were like, no, don't do that. And then the episode got leaked by iTunes because they didn't get the memo. And then people had to wait till the end of the month. And then the episode finally hit, and now the show is I don't have like numbers of how it did in ratings, but critically and like audiences generally love this episode.
It's a really good episode. It's probably the best episode of the season.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I mean, I don't really have any major complaints outside of the terrible handling of this episode, like of this second half of the season, and Disney just, I don't know why they did that. With this final episode, I can understand because it's a fairly intense episode. I get that. But you've now had Gravity Falls, Owl House, and Star versus the Forces of Evil. Like, you gotta lay off a little. People and kids want to see this stuff. Like, they want to be challenged. They want to see compelling storytelling. It was just frustrating to, like, I like some of the things the teams and talent at Disney make, but Disney as a company is going to always be frustrating to deal with.
Oh yeah. And this probably won't be the last time that we air our grievances towards the mouse, but you know, there is such a disconnect between, you know, like the people on like the people on the ground doing the hard, like doing the work and giving us these quality films and shows, and then there are the people up top who arguably shouldn't be making these calls but do anyway because they get paid.
Yeah, no, it was just a disaster of how they handled this episode. I hope they don't do this with any other future shows. Like, if this happens with like the Ghost and Molly McGee, I'll be mad if this is just, oh, they said they spilled the beans. They were like, whoops, we didn't handle this well. I mean, I know it's a gag from The Simpsons and such, but I do hope whoever made the decision to delay the episode got fired. Whoever
Same.
made that blunder, hope they got fired for that mistake. Anyway, Amphibia season 2 is fantastic. I can't wait for season 3.
Same. As we mentioned earlier, this is now on Disney Plus. If you've been waiting to catch up, now is the time.
Yeah, do it right now, man. But now we must go on to our final film in this episode, Castle in the Sky.
Yeah. So fun fact about this movie. A lot of people think that Nausicaa is the first Studio Ghibli film. And that's really not helped by the fact that movie gets included in all the packaging. You know, like it's been packaged on DVD, and I'm pretty sure that one's on HBO Max as well. But Castle in the Sky is the official start to Studio Ghibli.
I mean, like, if we wanted to be super actually, we could start with Castle Cagliostro and then Nausicaa and then Castle in the Sky, but I'm not going to get into that. But yeah, Castle in the Sky is basically the first official Ghibli film.
Yep. Written and directed by Hayao Miyazaki.
Of course.
This film, set in the 19th century, follows a young boy named Pazu and a girl, Sita, or what's her name? Shita.
The
girl with a magic crystal, who must race against pirates and foreign agents in the search for Laputa, the legendary floating castle. Yeah. There's no easy way to say it. I love this movie. I think I think for such an early film in the Ghibli canon, I think it might be one of their best. And of course I will validate that one further once I'm further along in my journey, but just based on first impressions, this movie really just blew me away.
This is one of my personal favorites. Like, if push comes to shove, you asked me what are my 3 favorite Ghibli films. It's Castle in the Sky, Spirited Away, and Porco Rosso.
I figured that third one would be up there.
Yeah. No, I can't wait for you to watch Porco Rosso. And but of course, I also love Only Yesterday and Princess Mononoke. I mean, outside of Earwig and the Witch, and maybe depending on how you feel, Tales from Earthsea. Like, you can't really go wrong with the films from Ghibli, and this was during a time where Miyazaki was still like, he was starting to shape his perspective on like how he wants to tell stories. Like, he doesn't really write a script from what I remember. He storyboards his films first, and then as he comes up with the script as they go along. And
I can kind of feel that watching this movie.
I mean, a lot of his films come off like that. Like, he storyboards. It's like, I want this to happen. Like, here's a base idea. I want this to happen here, 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 and then we'll put the story beats here, here, here. That's why I like a lot of his films. Like, it's more low key films. Feel like they have like a sudden third act. Like, oh, we have stakes now. Even though, and this is a hot take. I mean, it shouldn't be a hot take, but it apparently is. Films don't need to be big and grand and epic in scale to have stakes. The stakes can be in the smallest of stories. Like when we talked about My Neighbors the Yamadas. The stakes are, will this family come together and find out what actually keeps them together and such? Like, can they maneuver their way through life? And that's the entire moral of the story. It's like, hey, things are going to be tough, but that's okay. You just keep moving along and such. Sorry, I just needed to get that out of the way.
Understandable.
And this was also like when Miyazaki was still doing a lot of more action fantasy epics. He kind of stopped right around when Princess Mononoke came out, and then he started doing more dramatic stories outside of Ponyo, of course.
And this movie kind of feels like a marriage of like those two different styles, because in the first half, or maybe the first like 30 minutes, like the pacing for this film, it goes at a pretty rapid speed. It does kind of remind me of Mad Max Fury Road, in that once Pazu and Sheeta meet, they're just constantly on the run.
Pretty much. It's basically like, I'm sure this film was able to get made because back then that's when like space epics and action animated films were a little more common, which is kind of sad because current and modern animation gets a lot of flack for mostly being comedies or like if you're Disney or Pixar, dramas. But like back in the day, like there was a lot. It's like the web of genres and story styles was bigger back in the day. And I mean, like the opening act or scene is sky pirates invading an airship to get Sheeta before Sheeta falls off the ship to only be caught by Pazu. And then there's the whole fighting incident in the town between Pazu's boss and Dola's sons. I think they're all his kids or her kids. I mean,
yeah. And by the way, how great is Cloris Leachman in this?
Oh, the late great Cloris Leachman as Dola, the sky pirate. say what you will about her choices of what she did after, um, like she got her major roles and such, but she was so good in this role, and she's such a good voice actress. Like she's one of the few actresses that I think um that does like a good job between live action and animation. Because she's also Gran from the Croods,
Yep.
and she was also in Ponyo, um, and she's like she pops up everywhere and such, and but one of her greatest roles is as Dola the Sky Pirate. She brings such a fun energy to the character, and that's the point. She's this old granny running around like she's 20 and ready to just shoot anyone in her way. Um and well that the whole like first act is so good with like from like Pazu meeting Sheeta to Dola's boys getting in fights with Mr. Duffy, aka the boss. And then the whole like probably my favorite sequence and one of my favorite little animation bits is when they do the whole like I've got a more muscular body than you display, like when one of the boys, like the sons, Henry, is like, make your shirt like pop off, and then he does it, and then the boss does it, and then you hear in the background his wife go like, I'm not putting that back together.
By the way, his wife is voiced by the great Tress McNeely.
Yeah, that was very easy to tell. And no, this has a really good voice cast. We'll get into that in a minute. And then the whole chase on the train and Dola just telling her boys to get the car on the train tracks, even though the tracks are falling behind them. Like, it's such an old school style adventure movie. It reminds me of stuff like Romancing the Stone, and kind of like stuff in that, like the indie. It's like an animated Indiana Jones kind of pulp sci-fi fantasy adventure story.
Yeah, that's what I love about it too. It's like apparently, and this isn't really like they cut out a lot of these references in the English dub, but this is very much inspired by Gulliver's Travel and a little bit of Treasure Island too.
Yeah.
But that's where they get Laputa from. It's the flying island in Gulliver's Travels.
Well, technically, there are two dubs for this English for the English cast, because you have the Intersound dub and then the Disney dub. And I've listened to the Intersound dub, where like you had Sheeta voiced by Laura Cody, and like Sheeta Pazu was voiced by the always great Barbara Goodson, and it just doesn't work as well. I listened to some of the clips and I'm just like, I don't know, man. I think whatever you want to say about the Disney versions of these Ghibli dubs, the dubs are superior from the Disney version. So
yeah, they like Disney was smart when they were dubbing these films to really get actors, and they did a good job of like combining professional voice actors like Jim Cummings, Tress McNeely, Debbie Derryberry, with celebrities like Anna Paquin, James Van Der Beek, Mark Hamill. Well, Hamill is he's got one foot in both doors.
Yeah.
But still, the voice cast in these English dubs is always amazing.
Yeah, no, and you even got some other ones like Mandy Patinkin, or Shalulu, the one with the 2-part mustache, and then you had Michael McShane, who's a great voice actor, playing Lewis, the one with the beard that got into a fight with Mr. Duffy.
Yep.
And then of course there's like smaller roles, like Andy Dick plays one of the sons, and though one of my favorites is Richard Dizart, who plays
Uncle Palm.
Yeah, who who helps bring like a calmer tone to the film once the action sequence was done. And for like a film that's only 2 hours, it moves pretty well. And I think that's the strength of a lot of Ghibli films, especially Miyazaki films. You kind of forget that these films can be really long depending on which one you watch.
Yeah, I think there might only be like one or two instances where the pacing does seem to stretch a little bit too thin, and things start to slow down a little too much. But I feel like that's mostly deliberate. One
Yeah.
one thing one thing that's quite apparent about Miyazaki is he does not give two shits about like the 90-minute rule when it comes to animation. He wants to tell the story that he wants to tell. Um, so that's why if you think this film feels a bit if you think there's like kind of like the tone shifts from like the start of the film to the end, that's a very Miyazaki thing.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
gives you a very he takes you on a very fulfilling journey.
He does, and it does have his mannerisms and his like themes. Like it's very anti-war. He doesn't like. I mean, obviously the military and the Secret Service government. He's just like, I don't trust those guys like near me, and he's off. He also shows like the power that when Muska, voiced by the ever great Mark Hamill, um, gets like the power of Laputa, just how bad it is, and just like how like why the people of Laputa left the floating castle to live on Earth. And of course, this film has a lot of iconic scenes, like Sheeta floating downward on like from the sky. Of course, all the action sequences, the robot holding Sheeta and putting her on the edge of the castle tower. And then of course when Sheeta and Pazu meet another robot when they're on Laputa, just like seeing
the way that robot walks and the sound it makes like as it's like coming towards them is it's very relaxing, like very disarming.
it is, and there's like just like plenty of just amazing moments and scenes, like when they're escaping Laputa and you see them flying away from it. You see that robot again, just going on with its business, or like when the robot gives the two kids a flower. It's like it's a gorgeous movie, and the fact, and again, like this is what I love about Ghibli films. They let you breathe and live within a fully realized world, but they also have a lot of funny moments, like when Dolus is like, "Yeah, I was just like Sheeta when I was young, all emotional and stuff." And it's just like when you find a girl, you got to find her, like find one like her. And then they're like, "So she's gonna turn into mom." Or like when it's just like when they have Sheeta and Pazu join their pirate crew, the sons all freak out. They're like, "Can you make pudding? I love pudding."
That entire scene just cracked me up with
And,
all of their with all of their ridiculous requests.
yeah, it's like, can you do that thing with the pink frosting? I don't know. I forgot what it is, but it's like pink frilly frosting or something like that. And then it's like when Sheeta is cooking, one of them tries to come in and be like, "Oh, I want to be helpful, like the man that you can rely on." And then he realizes that one of the henchmen already got in there. And I forgot. I thought there was a line where he's like, "Man, what are you doing here?" And he's just like, "Working." um, and then they all kind of come in, and then they just end up having to help clean and cook and such. And it's one of my like favorite movies. It's like a perfect action adventure movie, and I kind of miss the fact that Miyazaki has not made a film like Castle in the Sky. I think the last time he did was with Princess Mononoke. And then afterwards he went into more dramatic stories or like more like fantastic.
Abstract adventures.
Yeah, like Spirited Away, Ponyo, and then like The Wind Rises, which is like a fantastical take on the man who made the kamikaze planes.
Although that's another thing that I like about this movie is that it introduces Miyazaki's love for aircrafts.
You see it in Nausicaa as well, and apparently someone did like, I don't know if it's just for Porco Rosso, but they said like technically if someone wanted to make these aircrafts, they would fly, but we'll have to see if that's actually true or whatnot. But like I said, I think it was just for Porco Rosso, but I could totally see it if they went through all the Ghibli films. And I know some people had an issue with Anna Paquin and James Vanderbeek voicing the kids. Like, I remember that was like one nitpick I kept seeing because it's like, oh, they sound too old for those characters. But hearing the original English dub before Disney got their hands on it, it sounded so much worse. I think, yes, they sound a little older than what their characters are, but they're just the better choices. Sorry.
I'm curious. Between the streamlined dub and the original dub for Neon Genesis, which one's worse?
I think this one is worse. Only because it's way more distracting when Pazu has like a young boy voice coming from Barbara Goodson. And Barbara Goodson sounded like a boy. She's a woman and such. But it's just it's just like it's during that time where English dubs were still kind of working out all the kinks and such.
And a lot of those performances sounded a little bit too exaggerated
or just stiff or clunky because it's just like, hey, I've never done this before. What do you mean that I can't just voice act like I could in an English cartoon or something? Like, what do you mean they don't use the same lip movements that we do? So, like I said, I think the Disney one is the best, and I think the original Neon Genesis dub is better. But that's just me.
Fair enough. I might check out clips of the streamlined dub just out of curiosity, but for those who have not seen this movie before, the Disney dub is on HBO Max. And one more thing I think we should talk about is the score composed by
Joe Hisaishi. Man,
yeah.
He's so good at what he does. I wish more people used him. He's so good. It's just this grand epic scale, but there's like a beauty to the songs that are played, and even down to like the simple trumpet thing is just like moment at the beginning is just perfect.
Yeah, I love his music. I love how I don't know if what I listened to was the new score for the English dub or the original, but whatever it was awesome. It did sound a little a little 80s with the amount of synth like in the score, but like the orchestration was beautiful. It really complements like the calmer moments that we see with Pazu and Shita, like on guard duty on the top of their ship. Moments like that were just really nice.
Yeah, no, it's a perfect soundtrack. And Joe, there's a reason why Joe Hisashi was like always the go-to composer for Ghibli films. He just knew what. I know it's just a meme, but he understood the assignment.
He did. He very much did.
Yeah, and if you want to buy like a physical copy of this film, you could try to track down the Disney versions. I personally would rather people go and get the G Kids re-releases because they now own the rights to the Ghibli films. Um, but that's just me. But like you said, they're all on HBO Max, and or if you're from overseas, uh, Netflix, UK, and whatnot. So, but yeah, I think that's it.
All right. We we unfortunately didn't have time to get to Only Yesterday this week, so we'll cover that next week. And after that, Cameron, do you want to spin the Ghibli wheel?
Yeah, I think I will. Hold on, let me get it up. By the way, next week we're going to be talking about Tressé and Wish Dragon alongside Only Yesterday. So that's next plan. I was trying to see if we could fit in a Annecy preview guide, but that episode will be way too long and it's about to start as we record this. Like it starts like within a week. Alrighty,
Yeah.
so after Only Yesterday, we will be watching. Sorry, I just think this is amusing because after Only Yesterday, we're going back to Miyazaki's like second film, Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind.
Well, that's just perfect.
I know, it's just like why couldn't we get that one first and then get Castle in the Sky? But oh no, this is a good one. This is definitely like it's not everyone's favorite, but it's well, saying which one's my favorite out of Miyazaki's work is like tough.
Oh yeah.
um so I thought like and it's also like one of the more like or like founding films that makes me of Miyazaki's style and such.
Yeah, this will be interesting to go backwards to see um like to see the film that I guess predates Ghibli by 2 years.
Yeah, and it like and this was also the one that got chopped up and edited before getting brought over here for the first time in US. And then that got Miyazaki so pissed off because he found out how they cut and edited the film. And he's like, "No, you're no more. You cannot bring over my movies or Ghibli films." And then it basically took uh I think Miramax who was like, "Hey, we want to bring over Princess Mononoke because it's a great movie." And um he's like, "No." And he's like, "Is there anything we can do?" And he's like, "Okay, if you're going to bring over our movies, you cannot edit them at all. They come as they are." But we'll talk about that when we get to Nausicaa 2 weeks from now. For my one recommendation, just to kind of go off of Amphibia and Castle in the Sky, I'm going to recommend a G Kids film that you can rent or own right now on Blu-ray called Napping Princess. It's it's basically about this girl who's going through some troubles like just trying to find her place in the world, and she lives with her dad who's a mechanic who's doesn't really have a like drive, but like when she's asleep she goes into these dreamlike sequences, and it's probably the closest kind of film to a Castle in the Sky that we've gotten from the last decade. There are plenty of action adventure films from the 2010s and such, but Napping Princess feels like one of those movies that would have been made in the 80s and such. So I highly recommend finding a copy and or renting it.
Nice. And this was directed by Kenji Kamiyama,
Yeah.
who is co-directed a couple shows that people might know, like Ghost in the Shell, 2045. He's doing the Blade Runner Black Lotus for Crunchyroll and Adult Swim.
Yeah. And he's also co-director of the Netflix Ultraman series.
Nice.
Yeah. And then he also did like Cyborg 009 Cyborg. Okay. And then was also the director of Eden of the East, Moribito, the Guardian of the Spirit. That was a good anime series from what I remember. But yeah, he's been in the industry for a while, and then also worked on plenty of he worked on backgrounds for DuckTales. He also worked on like Pat Labor. He also did work on like notorious films like Rojin Z and Genocyber. But yeah, no, that's my recommendation.
I came unprepared, and I don't necessarily have a recommendation off the top of my head, but since Amphibia is kind of similar to the show, a new season of the Fungies is out on HBO Max, and we will get to that one eventually. But if you haven't seen it before, and you don't have HBO Max, it currently airs on Cartoon Network. So if you want something more laid back, teaches good lessons for kids, but is also just really fun for adults, definitely check out the Fungies.
Yeah, the Fungies is a great show. One of my favorite cartoons from last year.
Same.
Definitely recommend it. And we're not just saying that because the creator follows us on Twitter. But yeah, no, that's it for me.
Awesome. All right, now before we leave, Cameron, where can everyone find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at CamsEyeView. You can also find me on my website, camseyeview.biz, where I review animated shows and films called The Other Side of Animation. I also have a Patreon at patreon.com/camseyeview. If you like my work, you can support me there. And then, of course, you can find me here on Renegade Pop Culture, co-hosting the animation podcast.
And you guys can find me on Twitter at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. You can find me in all the various Facebook groups just at my name. You can occasionally check me out on Suddenly Soundtracks on the PJ Campbell Network. You can look for Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Twitter at Ren Pop Culture. You can also find us on Podchaser. You can listen to all of our podcasts on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. Need an escape? So do we. That'll do it for this installment of Renegade Animation. Thank you guys for joining, and we will catch you guys later. Peace out.
Bye.